In a minute, we are going to be joining the peace concert in Nigeria. And it is an interesting issue to raise right now. We are going to be joining a concert which will be a beautiful event, a message to the world. But what does it mean? Peace. What does it mean? And what kind of responsibilities does it bring to us as a human species to bring peace to the world? But not only peace, but also progress. If we look at this image here, we see that we, as being human, we have two aspects of ourselves. One is we are the sixth cause of mass destruction of life on Earth, including ourselves. It is not just that we are eliminating the tigers and the elephants and all the other species that we've already eliminated. We are well on the way of eliminating ourselves, despite the fact that our species is growing from 1 billion people in the 18th century or early 19th century to approximately 8 billion people right now. So it doesn't seem that way that we are destroying ourselves, but it is really the case because our habitat is so dramatically affected by our lifestyle that we are facing severe problems. And we are looking at that right now with the problems we have in Ukraine. But those are not the only ones. Obviously, there are many more problems also in Africa and in different parts of the world where climate change, whether it's caused by us or by natural circumstances, we don't go into that kind of discussion because what we have is the need to somehow do something with it, adjust, because there are so many million people that are suffering and will not have availability of water or primary resources, such as food. So they will be avoiding their own death by starting to travel. And they want to, and we call them climate refugees or hunger refugees or whatever you want to call them. So we ourselves are a problem on this planet. And at the same time, we also consider ourselves a biological miracle of wit, creativity, and hopefully also self-awareness. So if we have to choose between those two, I myself would preferably look at ourselves as a biological miracle. And because I prefer to include myself in that part of reality than including myself in the sixth cause of mass destruction. But that significant choice of being biological miracle and this self-awareness requires from me to become much more aware of my own choices and my own behavior that is affecting the sixth cause of mass destruction, of course. So I have to change my attitude. If I stick to the other side, then obviously also at government level or our businesses, what we see is that they are starting to compete for the resources that are going to be extremely limited because of our abuse of the resources. So there will be a mass conflict, which is already showing itself on the earth, a conflict of competition that is going to be lethal for people. It has been lethal already for a lot of people involved in wars, also in a drought and hunger type of situations. It will be affecting the rest of the world. So if we don't change our attitude as human beings, as individuals, but also our institutions, what we will see is that despite the fact that we are so intelligent and creative, we have not been able to save ourselves. All right, so we do have a big responsibility here. And that responsibility that since about 25 years ago, when I started to become aware of this myself and started to adjust my lifestyle, I defined our responsibility into not the money dependent part, or because that is the one that really got generalized in the industrial times, that we're still having that. We see the abuse that it has been causing, and we see that we also react to it by creating healthcare systems and remedial systems when we do the things wrong. And now we see that just about everything is wrong. So we have to have a structural remedial activity around a lifestyle, it's much easier to change that lifestyle than to try to repair everything that we break on the way. So that lifestyle has to comply with the five, what I define, 5 core human natural values that we are responsible for ourselves individually, but also each of and every of our institutions. I will show them here. Those are the biological and core values that sustain us as a human being, as a part of this natural ecosystem, this that we have grown so far away from, thinking that we could dominate this planet and all its living systems, but in the end, we realized that we cannot. We don't really have to save the planet, because the planet has saved itself already 5 times before. What we have to do is try to save ourselves. And that means that we have to put ourselves in the context of the laws of nature and not the laws of human beings and our legal type of systems, which have been very much based on many of the wrong type of values. So those 5 core conditions for sustainable human progress are, and I summarize them here verbally, but you can read about that and you can stop the video if you want, and you can check them out if you wish. The first one is health, and health is much broader than just the physical integrity that we have or the absence of disease. Health has to do with our lifestyle in relationship to our natural environment. It has to do with our emotions. It has to do with the meaning that we give to life. So it's a very broad spectrum of activities that comply to health. It also has to do with healthy living environment, where we should behave without a polluting type of attitude. And this also gives rise to new type of business systems, which should organize themselves around these values and not simply as the pursuit of financial benefits at the expense of everything else, because that is in detriment of everything. And obviously that is not the type of entrepreneurship that we are looking for in the 21st century. Then we have safety. Safety is more than, again, our physical integrity, and it has to do also with respect for the cultural diversity that we have on the planet Earth, our history, but also our respectfulness towards our natural environment, because we structurally depend on that. And if we do not respect it, then that natural environment will not respect us either. And it will eventually eliminate us from the face of this earth. Co-creativity gives that a sense to shared responsibility. It's not simply sensing that responsibility, but also acting together, really acting together in a community-based way, where local institutions like government and us citizens, together with our scientists who provide knowledge and our entrepreneurs who provide solutions, work together to work on those core values. Awareness is our learning process. It is the way we deal with these kind of things by experimenting with them. Obviously, we don't have all the knowledge because we have never really been thinking about these core values, and unless they were absent, we started trying to get them back. The core values are like drinking water, food, not manipulated food to create that in abundance in our supermarkets, but real food, food that comes from nature in collaboration with nature. Healthy air, which is one of the big issues we have right now worldwide, and really have to pay attention to that. And it comes largely from our activities as a human being, also our personal activities, doing the things which give us a bad relationship with air because of our own contribution to this. And obviously we need energy, not only the energy which comes from the plugs out of the electric plugs out of our walls, but it has to do with the warmth that we get from the sun. It provides us also with the benefits of vitamins like vitamin D. And it also, the warmth has to do with the way we deal with our housing and our protection against climate type of issues. So these are key responsibilities. We cannot leave those key responsibilities to political interests or to big business corporations, because we see that they deal with it in a particular way, which is not with the same type of responsibility that we have as a human species. Anyway, a democratic society would be based on these core conditions, which frames this type of activity or this type of responsibility, so that we do not discuss about what our interests are, but what our priorities are to get these core values not only sustained and recovered, but also in continuous basis in everything we do, restored and sustained in a positive way. That is seems very simple, but it really disputes just about everything that we have, the way our institutions work and the way we behave on a daily basis. That change is absolutely necessary. If we don't do that, nature will do it for us. And if there is no food, then we will have to grow it ourselves. And so why don't we start already right now? And there are a lot of possibilities. We have a lot of knowledge around that so that we can do it. But remember, we have been starting to live for the last centuries in cities, and cities have never been designed to co-create food, for instance, or take care of our drinking water. We take it all from outside the cities, which means that we have a responsibility here to redesign our cities so that we can also provide ourselves from self-sufficiency in this. Otherwise, we depend on the resources from outside the city, and everybody in all the cities will be competing for the same resources, which will be giving rise to conflicts. If we do these things together, we eliminate those conflicts and we come into a situation of lasting peace. And that peace is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, we will be in unsafe situations all the time. And those unsafe situations lead to wars and to social unrest and all these kind of negative things. So that is what we are looking for as a new type of human culture which can expand across the world. I've been doing this and experimenting with this for already last 15 years, starting with the way businesses are defining themselves, the DNA of businesses, and we are looking at a new type of business development, institutional development, based what I call the 4 times win situation, which means that an institution looks at itself, its DNA, as a positive contribution for the human being from a core values point of view, at the society from a social integration point of view, reduce social costs and all these kind of social things, even jobs and those kind of things, and participation. Also, the environment is important as a win situation, so that we do not abuse from our natural environment. We cooperate with our natural environment. We do not pollute our natural environment. We don't use excessively the resources that are available to us, but we give back to nature also as much as we do. And we get into recycling and regenerative type of structures. And then obviously we look at our financial gain, but that from a continuity point of view, not only financial growth for a few stakeholders. That is new institutional working from a 4 times win. And I started with that already about 15 to 20 years ago. And it gradually grew into the area of government and citizens' participation to get these things together. And I created tables that bring all these people together and really start defining our priorities. And one of the priorities we did here in Eindhoven in the Netherlands was based on air quality and health. And we combined these two together, and we started a new kind of not an institution, because we don't want it to be an institution. It had to be a partnership organization that's called AiREAS, air and area, air from what we breathe, and area from the region where we develop this healthy air and healthy environment type of activities. There are 23 municipalities engaged right now, many scientific organizations, many citizens, also schools, basic schools, primary schools, and all that. All right, so this is what I would like to introduce to you as our message to the world of producing peace, lasting peace. All right. Well, thank you very much. And I hope this is something you can also experiment with in your own home country and area.